Okay, obviously difficult to fall to the host team, Tarleton State, but you obviously have a chance tonight. You await the selection show, so it's kind of just, I guess, the mindset for this evening. What are you guys doing as far as viewing it together?
Well, the recap on the weekend was we knew we had to, if we wanted a chance, we had to beat Kingsville. And the team's growing in the sense of, again, all the young teams in the conference have great win percentage at home. They struggle on the road. So we beat a team on a neutral site. It was a much better record on the neutral site. And starting this year, that stuff plays into the committee. Now there's it's called a performance factor. When you rate wins and losses, you get a different rating based on if you're at home or neutral away based on that situation. So beating Kingsville is a big deal for the girls. And then, again, it's like trying to replicate. The Tarleton coach and I were talking, and she's like, when they came to our place, they go, remember girls, they're hungry, and they're starting to click, and they they're a little desperation mode. And so, we basically whipped up on them here at our place, okay? And so it's sort of vice versa. We told the girls, like, girls, we took regionals from them as far as hosting. They're going to want that back. And I was talking to Mary, she goes, yeah, that's exactly what I told the team. So, even saying it, just the girls have to experience it, unfortunately, okay? And so I feel like we've done enough damage. I've looked at all the data. I've been trying to talk, but the committees, they're always being told to be hush-hush. But if we don't, I just personally feel if we don't get in, I think something's wrong. There's a point where you have to reward someone for a schedule. And we're 4-8 versus regionally ranked teams. They're 0-3. Strength of schedule's much better. Common opponents. We win a lot of stuff. We just haven't won as many games, but basically if you're playing a lot tougher and you're not the top, like we have the same schedule as basically Regis and Tarleton, but they're winning those, therefore they're the discussion of 1 and 2. But you put someone like us in that's top 5, top 10 of all the categories, and we've had a few bumps, but we also have way more polishing moments on our resume. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I'm feeling good. So what we did is when we came in, we told the girls we're going to plan like we're going. So we had a practice yesterday, and I said, if we're going to get this second chance, I was like, let's just reinvent ourselves. So me and my assistant Casey, we stayed up here all Saturday, and we basically just threw everything out the window, and we're trying some new stuff. Because basically, if we get the second chance, it's honestly we should be able to play the loosest ever. And now we will go to a neutral site where we've gotten better at, and the Regis University gym is literally the box. So it looks basically the same. So we got to get in, but I just feel good about it.
Are you guys having like a viewing party or anything tonight together, or were you guys like?
Yeah, the girls know it's at 7:30, so we're going to be in the locker room after the study halls. But when I leave here at practice, we literally are pointing out stuff that we messed up on, and half of it was just we got puckered up. We had a big lead in the late teens and set 1 and 3, and they did great things. They did what they're supposed to. They didn't mess up and took advantage of screws on our part. But when you 7 points in a row, if coaches are honest, that's partly you and partly the other team, right? So we're going to bring them back and watch, and then at that point, we gave them out a blueprint of how we're going to practice for the next 2 weeks, assuming we get in Monday night, right? So yeah, they're going to come back and do the study hall, take a break, and go watch, and then we'll go from there.
Does the committee take into consideration how you lose some of these matches, or do they?
Yeah.
Obviously a win and a loss matter, but do they matter?
Well, this is what the screwy part is so you get rewarded on D2 overall win percentage, okay? Regional win percentage, right? And then in conference, non-conference, in region win percentage. So if you're playing lighter, you're going to be a little bit higher, right? But then they take into account strength of schedule, your RPI, which does favor performance indicators is what they're calling. They're starting to look at that stuff, and that's when they're supposed to look out and talk about like what the numbers don't show, okay? And then they take into account results versus ranked teams, and they take into account common opponents, which out of all the teams they've played and we've played that are the same, we come out ahead. The one thing that is very challenging in 2 teams you're comparing that are non-conference or different conferences is head-to-head. We haven't played. So that has been moved to the forefront. So for instance, that's why many people think we're going to Regis, because Regis beat Tarleton at the beginning of the year. So all things equal, that's supposed to be the biggest, heaviest thing, okay? So they do look at that stuff. To what extent, I don't know. I tried to kiss up and tried to talk to the committee, and this committee's good. They're sticking to their guns. I sent them cryptic text messages like, does the duck fly at midnight? And one of them was like, what in the hell does that mean? So I was like, never mind. So I'm trying my best. So I just got to be patient.
With St. Mary's winning the Heartland Conference, does that affect the mindset of where you guys should be placed within the regionals?
Oh, yeah. St. Mary's is, they've had if anybody's spent the time, they've had a really cool story this year. Unfortunately, they had to make a coaching change just so something happened middle of the season. So the assistant has really taken over and, kept them going, right? And St. Mary's beat them up the first 2 times. But the thing is they're not even ranked in the region. And so Fort Smith at the end, St. Mary's has a good record per se. But yeah, it makes a difference is because, for instance, we beat Kingsville. They're top 10. We lost to Tarleton, number 2, and they have the highest. So both those matches increase our strength of schedule. Each week Fort Smith played in the Heartland, their strength of schedule drops. So them losing wasn't a bad loss per se because St. Mary's has a good record, but they're nowhere to be found in what the committee's looking at to bring into regionals. Does that make sense? So we actually boosted our resume this weekend. You know what I mean? Commerce lost to a team with a losing record. So even though they were above Fort Smith, now I was on the phone with the Commerce coach. Now the debate is, did that hurt us really bad? You know what I mean? So we don't know, but they look at all that, and that's the challenge. Is the NCAA sort of contradicts themselves. They want us to find the 8 best teams out of the RMAC, Heartland, and Lone Star, but the way they do the criteria, a coach can build the schedule and go play outside of your region and get in. So now common opponent data is very thin. I think I've only played 4 teams that Fort Smith has played. When years ago, we'd have 10, 12, you know what I mean? So it's sort of screwy how they do this stuff.